1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is how long your attention span is. Your attention span is shorter than a goldfish's. Does anyone know how long a goldfish's attention span is? Ours is 8. Theirs is 9. 9 seconds. And in 2000, our attention span was 12 seconds. The remote's not working. We'll figure that out. And the reason they say that it's gone down is because of technology. All the information that's coming to us and all the different ways that it's coming to us, that our attention span has become smaller. Would we agree? We would agree. So communication is a superpower. Your ability to communicate is your ability to build relationships, to lead, to negotiate, to influence, to navigate conflict. It is a superpower. So I'm going to ask the group, what qualities make an impactful speaker and communicator? You tell me. Passion. Sincerity. Enthusiasm. Efficiency. What else? What else makes a good communicator, good speaker? When you think about the people around you, the people you deal with, what makes someone great? Knowledge. Who said knowledge? What was it? Knowledge. Confidence. Pausing. Power of the pause. Okay. Brittany, can you ask them? This isn't working. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, there we go. The communicator needs to know how to turn these things on. Knowledge. We said knowledge. I want to talk about that. That actually brings up my next point. If I am a 10 out of 10 in my craft, 10 out of 10, solid. I know my business. I know how it works. I know everything about it, but I am a 3 out of 10 communicator. Do you consider me a 10 out of 10? Right? Because that matters. It matters. First impressions last 7 seconds. So yesterday morning, it took you all of 7 seconds to size me up. Whether you thought I was intelligent, whether you thought I knew what I was talking about, whether you liked me, you were judging what I was wearing, how I looked, 7 seconds. It happens really fast. And we process visual knowledge 60,000 times faster than text. So visuals become very important when we use our arms, when we're talking about certain things. Visuals become very important to people. So today, we are going to talk about some of the fundamentals of communication, but we're going to tweak it a little bit. Because you know this, everyone knows this, but we're going to tweak it a little bit so we can possibly change some of the way our brain thinks about these things so we can feel confident in trying out new skills. We're going to be talking about tone and pace, the verbal aspects of communication. We're going to be talking about body language, the nonverbal aspects, active listening, which we talked about a lot yesterday, active listening, and finally, one of my favorite, we're going to talk about how we navigate conflict and communicating in conflict situations. This is going to help your personal lives too, believe me. So that is what we're going to do today. We're going to practice some techniques and we're going to build your confidence. So as leaders, you're continuing every day to communicate in all different ways. Would you agree? What else would you add up here in the different ways that you communicate? Anything? And 40 to 50% of what we do is out of habit. Everything from brushing our teeth, tying our shoelaces to more complex tasks like driving cars. And we do this out of habit, right, because it saves brain space for us to be able to accomplish everything. Plus, if we had to think about every single little detail that we needed to do every morning, we would never leave the house, right? We could never get out of bed. But this is good, but this is also, our communication becomes a habit. How we communicate becomes habit for us. Patterns, the way we communicate. So we're going to adjust some of those habits today. As a leader, what you do not want is people to have no idea what you're talking about, what your direction is, when you're not clear. That's what you do not want as a leader. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about tone, how you sound, how loud you're talking, how soft you're talking. We're going to talk about pace. Where are my Northeasters? Anyone? Right? You guys talk fast, right? We get to talk fast. From the South, we think these means to talk a little bit slower. So we're going to talk about pace. And we're also going to talk about clarity of our message and how we're speaking. Does that sound good? So we're going to dive into the first exercise. If there is an odd number at the table, I want you to get into pairs. Maybe there's a possibility for, you got 6, you got 4. We can figure this out. Maybe it goes 3. I want you to take 2 minutes each. I mean, a minute. You don't have to take that long. 3 to 4 sentences. I want you to talk about either yourself, maybe a hobby, maybe a trip you've been on. This is not long-winded. We're not talking about restaurant recommendations. We're not talking about anything other than just a few simple facts about something. This is what it could sound like. I went to Germany this past summer. This was my first time going to Germany. My favorite city was Bamberg, and I can't wait to go again next year. That's simple. Sound fair? And we're each going to take a minute. If there's 3 together, 2 together, and just go back and forth and tell each other. The person listening, I just want you to listen. Don't want you to interrupt. I don't want you to talk about your trip to Germany. I don't want you, just listen. That's all you have to do. Sound good? All right, this is the first exercise. Pair up real quickly, just 3 to 4 sentences, something a hobby, somewhere you've been, something about yourself. Let's go. All right, we should switch if we haven't switched. Let's switch. All right, we're going to start wrapping it up. If you hadn't had a turn, let's switch. I want to hear whatever joke. Let's go. All right, when you're done, you can just look at me so I know we're done. What was that? Stare at me. Yeah, count to 8 real slowly, too. Effective way to get attention. All right, we're going to open up our workbooks. Hopefully you brought them back today. We're going to open up our workbooks. We're going to open up to part 14. And with our partners and our group, we're going to give each other an opportunity that we see. Maybe we know we do this when we speak. Maybe we heard this when someone was speaking, just to identify some of the areas of opportunity we might have when we think about our communication style. So maybe it's an ums and the ahs and the sort of. So I need to remove my filler words. Maybe I caught myself jumping in. I was excited about what they said. I need to be more mindful of listening. So let's, as the team that you were just in, just help each other figure out maybe some opportunities, or if you know your opportunity, just write those down. And there's some other questions to ask in there, but yeah, just this exercise that's up on the screen.
Based on what we just did.
Yeah, based on what you just did. What's something you think you could do differently that you caught yourself doing? Maybe in the group you noticed they weren't maintaining eye contact. Just areas of opportunity. Steal something real quick. I'll give it back, I promise.
Okay, you better.
All right, let's do 15 more seconds. Let's wrap it up. All right, we ready? Who are my ums? Who are my filler word people? I catch myself all the time. All right, who are my interrupters? Who knows they interrupt? All right, interrupters. What about not making eye contact? Who knows they're guilty of that? Yeah. No eye contact. That happens, right? It's what we do, and we recognize these things. So what I want you to do, you all have Legos in the middle of your table. Some of you have already made beautiful creations. You're going to have to uncreate your creations. There's not going to be enough Legos for everyone, but we're going to be doing this in teams. And this is what we're going to do. These Legos, each of these Legos represents a sentence, a thought. I went to Germany this summer. The next Lego, you're going to stack on top of the first one. It was my first time going to Germany. And this allows you time, and we're going to keep going, stacking. My favorite city was Bamberg. I look forward to going again next summer. And this is a trick that helps our brain, can help our thoughts become concise. Because you cannot place your Lego down until your thought is concise. Lacking filler words. You're ready with what you're going to say. Then when you're ready for your next sentence, it causes you to pause, put that one down. So you're going to say the exact same thing you did, but we're going to tighten it up. Does that make sense? We're going to tighten it up. This is a simple exercise, and I promise you forever, you will start to think about Legos when you talk. And it's good when you're having conversations with people that are important, not that everyone's not important, like matter, we're in these big conversations, it'll help you think about what you're going to say before you say it. And because you have to pause and think before you put in the next Lego, it helps us to slow down. So there's a lot of activation that's going on in the brain. We're new neural pathways with this one. So we're going to do that again. This time we're going to take a little bit longer because now we're going to be thinking a little bit more about what we're going to say, just our 3 to 4 sentences. Let's tighten it up. And then the person who's going to speak first, let's get 3 or 4 Legos and stack your Legos. Make sense? All right, let's create some new neural pathways. Let's try this again. Legos in the middle of your table. If you need more Legos, just let me know. I know where the Lego keeper is. We'll get more. Here's some more. Do you need more?
I was going to give you an idea.
What was that?
She didn't have an issue with filler words before. Now she does.
Oh, so you can't put your piece down until you're like clear.
That's causing her to have filler words.
Because you're trying to stack. You can do it. You can do it. That's all right. You can bring that up, right? We're creating new pathways. Like it trips up the brain a little bit. You got it.
I therefore watch one of these.
Yeah. So
In fact, I'm even willing to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning.
You did.
Steve went Chucky on me.
What happened?
The last one, he goes, "Would you like to play?"
Okay. Creepy. Yeah, it's not good. You guys done over here? Oh, you guys are done? Okay. All right, let's change if we haven't changed. If you're done, you can just look at me, stare, so I know we're done. If you're not done, take a few more seconds. All right. Thoughts on the second time around, doing it with Legos? Tell me, why was it harder?
Well, first of all, I didn't know what shape I was going to build.
So you're thinking about, what am I going to do?
I feel like I can naturally just flow, but then when I had to intentionally stop, it was like I would lose my train of thought.
Who else had that? Who else happened? Interesting. And why do you think you lost your train of thought? What do you think was filling it before?
There was no filling. It was going smooth. The words don't come easily.
It's a little bit different. Maybe filler words that you didn't realize you were using. Extra words, extra language, just sort of fill the space. You said sort of.
Hers went away. She gave filler words and she lost her.
We'll keep working. All right. What else? Okay, so a little bit harder to think about as we think about that. What else came up from tables?
I think my sentences became shorter,
I-
maybe more precise,
More declarative.
more clarity,
Yes. And that's a
maybe more to the point.
good thing. Who else have found themselves getting a little more to the point? Am I a little more to the point? Helpful. What else?
This might sound funny, it's not actually meant to. I forgot how difficult it is to stack Legos. I had to move my eyes from eye contact to looking at the Legos as I consistently failed.
We'll forgive you for that. But yes, right. How to stack Legos, right?
Two things at once can be difficult.
It can be different, right? And when we get to active listening, right? We can't listen and be thinking about what we're doing at the same time. So, yeah. What else? What else came up for you? Yes.
Maybe you want to hear more about what she's talking
Oh, tell me more about that. Tell me more. It's just like it just became more interesting the second time around?
Her sentences were shorter, and then it made me want to hear more about her story.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
keep going.
Wonderful. We're going to have to hear that story, Susan. What story? Tell me one more thing. One more thing that came up for the group. So we had a little bit harder, a little more precise.
It took more concentration. It took more concentration.
We're actually thinking about what we're going to say. And who's been around someone who's just talking to talk? What was that?
Oh, right.
We do this. So the goal of this exercise, this is a brief exercise, we can spend so much longer, we want to create more thought about what we're going to say before we say it. And these Legos, I promise you, you will forever think about the Legos when you go to speak to somebody and you need to be concise and to the point, and you want to have your thoughts well put together. So keep your Legos, if you want, is a memory, just to remind you to be concise when you do that. When we think about verbal communication, we talked about thinking about what you want to say, avoid filler language, but I want to talk about adapting language to the audience. Who here, English is not your first language? All right, not your first language. What is the most difficult thing when you're learning a new language, when you're speaking to a native English speaker? So that's the translation part, but you're trying to learn, right? You're trying to listen. What's the hardest thing that English speakers do sometimes for you? So translate, your brain is trying to translate. What else? Do we talk pretty fast?
All words are connected.
Yes, there's not. We talk fast. What else were you going to say back here? There's no space. It's just go, 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 go. What else? Ah.
Like I go first.
Right.
In Chinese we say I first go.
Yes.
So from the beginning we try to
Swap it. In many languages, yeah. In which goes. So you're in your brain, you're switching verbs and nouns and all the things that are happening. Very common. And that's very common in a lot of other languages where it's a different way than where it is in English. So adapting your language to your audience is very important as well. And in the industry that you're in, you have a wide variety of an audience, and very important to be considerate when we think about who we're speaking to be adapting language, maybe speaking a little more slowly, maybe not rambling on da-da-da-da so we can't hear, just to give them a moment, a bit to think about what we're trying to say to them. Make sense? We're good? All right. We're going to move into nonverbal communication. Before you even open your mouth, people are making judgments by how you're standing, what you're doing, what you look like. Would you agree? Some of the comments, we forget to smile. Fidgeters, where are my fidgeters? Fidget. We don't make eye contact. We talked about that. Can you tell from this which one is smiling?
One.
Two. Who are my ones? Who thinks number one is smiling? Raise your hands high up in the air. Number one. All right. My number two. Right, body language, and we're not body language experts. Like, people aren't body language experts. It's not like they're looking, checking your micro expressions and waiting to see what's going on. We're not, but we do judge. We do, when we look at people and we look how they're standing and what they're doing, we are making judgments about what is going on. Who here are my poker players? Anyone poker players? Who's been in a casino before? Let's start there. Everyone's been in a casino. There was a study done in 2013. The study is on the screen if you want the QR code. 2013, they did this study, World Series of Poker Champions. And they brought in 3 groups of people, and they played 20 clips, no sound, of the World Series of Poker Champions from the 2009 World Series of Poker. So they knew who won. They knew what was going on. And they had 3 sets of clips. So the first group watched from table to the top of the head. They watched this clip. The second group just watched the face. And the third group just watched arm movements. Who here has heard of the poker face? The groups that saw from table to the top of the head and the groups that just saw the face were not able to predict who would win. The group that just looked at arm movements predicted by far more than the other 2 groups who would win the hand just by their arm movement. Is that incredible? Does anyone want to guess what was the difference in the arm movements? Confidence in arm movement. How they swept their ante into the middle. That's how they knew, and they were able to predict greater than the people that just watched the poker face and greater than the people that saw the arm movements, but they saw the whole thing, just that. It matters. I want you to watch this video. This is like the world strongmen versus, there's like a tug of war championship going on, and I want you to watch the movement, the arm, the body language of the group they're meeting.
What's up, guys? said in the paper, this is where this all stemmed from, that we called you out in a tug of war, but in actual fact, you guys called us out. So there's 80 you guys.
What did you see on the red team? Body language. Arms.
Except for one person was like this.
One person was like this, but did you notice he was no eye contact? Head. One guy was like this, head down. It's amazing. It's amazing what we can pick up on when we're just paying attention to what people are doing with their body. Oh, I want all of you to stand up right now. Freeze in the exact position you're in right now. And look around. How's everyone doing? What do we notice? Are we noticing anything? A couple of fidgeters. Anyone? Any arm crossed? No arms crossed. Any hands in the pockets? Hands in the pockets. Arms behind the back. Arms behind the back. How does it feel just to stand like this? It feels awkward. Do I look awkward up here standing like this?
No.
Look around. Does anyone else look awkward standing like this? But I love that you said that because people think it feels awkward. Does it? It feels awkward, does it not? Doesn't look awkward. How easy just to stand, just like this. All right, you can sit down. So we're going to move in to a workbook exercise, and this is more for ourselves to think about, to reflect on what we do, some common areas of opportunity or pitfalls that we fall into in our body language. So we can create awareness around this so we can start to make changes in how and what we're doing. All right, let's give it 15 more seconds. All right, who wants to talk about some of the things that they do? Where are we? All right, please, thank you.
I completely wear my emotions on my face.
Oh, you, like, if I want to know.
Yeah.
So the boredom that you've been showing me is... Yeah.
It's a real problem because I've had many people point it out. They know exactly what I'm
Which can be a
saying.
good thing, right? It can be a good thing, but it also what's going on in our face. Very interesting. Who else? Who else is they wear everything on their face? Okay. Has that caused problems?
Yes. My friends, they'll just look at me and say, fix your face.
I need a shirt that says that.
What is lack of emotion regulation?
So when you're just all like, oh my gosh, and this and that, and you're just getting all kind of crazy, and you're like drama, yes, the drama.
Okay.
That's a good one. All right, so wearing it on your face. What else? What else do we do? Please. Yeah.
There are a couple of items that start with inconsistent signals and inconsistent
Yeah.
facial expression.
Yeah, let's do that. Katerina, I'm super, super interested in what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, please tell me more. No, keep talking. That would be, does that make sense? Right? So what were the words that are coming out of our mouth are not actually matching like what is happening with what is going on. So inconsistent. It's not lining up.
Inconsistent with the message, not inconsistent that I always keep the same face.
No. What else? What else?
I think posture for me.
Posture. Tall, right?
Yeah.
So tell me what you do. Do you make yourself smaller when you talk to people?
No, I'm just so used to working on my computer now, so I'm like this. So like when I'm talking, like my shoulders are always like this. So it's like I need to like keep my shoulders.
Very interesting. And get a stand-up desk.
Yeah. Okay.
That's really interesting, right? So posture, and we're going to talk about posture. Okay. What else? What else we do? Let's just make it. Let's normalize that we all do things. Let's just normalize it. Yes. Don't tell it. Don't you? You're telling her don't say it. What were you going to say?
I wrote that I spend more time trying to look engaged versus like actually listening.
Oh, tell me a little bit more about that. Is it because you really don't care about what they're saying? Or are you so concerned about what they're saying that you're trying to make it seem? So tell me.
It could probably be like a lack of interest, but something like a random conversation, like I'm spending more time like making sure my body language is appropriate versus like actually
Listening. Okay, right. Like I'm thinking too much about what's going on instead of what's going on. Who else does this? Who does that? Anybody?
I found that on Zoom calls, I tend to think about that more than in person.
Yeah.
Because I'm also looking at my own face sometimes. I look bored.
The mirror is right there. Is right there. Good. Thank you, Andrew, very much. Thank you both. What else? Anything else?
I'm not smiling enough. Apparently I don't smile.
You don't smile enough. But then also when people are like, you need to smile more, right? That's also not great either. So maybe it's a fix your face moment, right?
Yeah, probably.
Please, Mark.
My wife says that I have an insincere laugh.
Oh, let's hear this laugh. We'll be a judge of
That'd
that.
be insincere.
An insincere laugh. You're like, it's just my laugh.
What's that?
You're like, it's just my laugh. Just the way I am, right?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'd never heard that before.
Now we're all going to be like, is Mark laughing? Yeah, now I want to hear the laugh. Was it insincere? Did you hear that? Okay, well. That was sincere. Very interesting. Anyone else want to share something that they do, that they've been told? You're a fidgeter.
I'm definitely a fidgeter. Pen, pencil, sheet, all over the place.
Tell me,
But
what's
I'm listening.
you're just, and sometimes we have the excess energy, right? There's energy coursing through our body and sometimes we're moving, but it can be very distracting to people and to other people that you're talking to. So interesting, fidgeter. Who else do I ask my fidgeters? Anyone else a fidgeter?
The hand gestures.
The hand gestures, we just hand.
Hands are all over the place.
Right? Too much. It can be too much. Okay. The point being, and we're going to talk about the nonverbal opportunities, the point being that we all do things. And we talked about habits before. These are all just part of habits, things we've been doing for years that we're not always consciously thinking about, but bringing self-awareness to it today to remind ourselves that just standing like this doesn't look awkward, right? You don't have to think too much about that. And then working on your posture, how you're standing, how you're presenting yourself. Hands, eye contact. This is a big one. And it's not, we all can benefit from learning a little bit more eye contact. One, it can be too much, right? Like way too much. Intense, right? A little too much, but then just the people that just like the brief, right? And just focusing. It's not awkward to just look someone in the eye and have a conversation, right? Just to talk to them. I will tell you a simple micro expression that's very interesting. We're not going to talk about micro expressions today. When eyes dilate, when they get big. When you're talking to someone and they get big, they are very interested in you and what you're saying at that moment. So if you're talking about, Brentley likes boats, and I'm like, I know about boats, and you see their eyes dilate, stay on the conversation of boats. If we're in negotiation situations, influence situations, that is one of those indicators that whatever's going on, they like whatever you're saying, And you could possibly raise the price if you need to. That's just one little micro expression, which can be meaningful when you want to work on looking at someone in the eye just to see, are their eyes dilating? Like, is there something there, a little something there that I can catch on to? All right. We talked a lot about active listening yesterday. Who feels that they're a really good active listener? Who thinks they're good? Raise your hand. Be confident. It's okay. Be confident. 96% of people believe they are great at active listening. Would you agree with that statistic?
No.
But we only remember half of what someone says right after they said it. Who has ever had to ask someone what their name is again? All the time. All the time. You're not alone, right? When we think about listening, our brains are in a lot of different places sometimes, but we think we're really good at it, but we're not always really good at it. Your mind wanders. We're thinking about what am I doing with my hands while I'm supposed to be listening? We're interrupting. We're making a lot of judgments about what people are saying as we're listening as well. That's what's going on. And a lot of times we're formulating what we're going to think while someone is talking. It is not possible to do those two things at the same time. But how often we do, we're like, as soon as there's a pause, as soon as there's a break in the conversation, I'm going to jump on in, or I jump on in. As coaches, as leaders, I work as an executive coach. Listening is my entire job, but what is more interesting than what's coming out of someone's mouth is what's not coming out of their mouth. What they aren't saying. If I get in trouble at work and you come to me and you say, Rachel, you messed up and you violated this policy. Not enough for me to fire you, but I need to know that you know that this is a policy violation. Yeah, thank you for bringing it to my attention. I appreciate you letting me know that I'm not supposed to do that and I won't do it again. What didn't I say?
Sorry.
Does it mean I'm not sorry? Not necessarily. But what it does mean as a coach and a leader that maybe there's a follow-up question. Not that we're trying to pull a sorry out of someone, maybe there's a follow-up question that we can be asking. So not only is it important what someone is saying, it's listening for what they are not saying, which makes conversation so much more fun, like detective work. You're like, what is not coming out of your mouth right now? What are you not saying about this thing? And it can become fun to do this, but as coaches and leaders, this is a very important skill. You'd be surprised what people are not saying. And it's not to call someone out. You need to apologize, but maybe a follow-up question. Maybe there's a digging deeper question, something else. When we talked about getting to the root yesterday, like what's going on, maybe there's a deeper question there that needs to be asked so that we can uncover what's going on, why that happened, what's going on deeper, getting a better understanding. Would you agree? All right. We're going to talk about the common pitfalls in listening. I want you to, we're going to do this. If you could just turn to the same person next to you, and I want you to just come up with a new 4 to 5 sentences. New 4 to 5 sentences that you want to tell the person next to you. Anything. It could be the thing you didn't tell them. You don't have to practice the Legos. I just want you to talk. Just talk briefly to each other for just a minute and then swap. All right, let's switch. If we haven't switched, let's switch. Let's talk. Let's switch. It's my fault. I heard that. You're welcome.
Either I can say it or you can say it that we're going to make a snack break. It's already out there.
Okay, great.
Between yours and Justin's.
Okay, great.
Just
I'll
to
let them
get-
know.
Okay.
All right, let's come back. Let's come back. Let's come back. Based on what we just talked about, active listening, tell me what it was like to listen now. Tell me what was going on for you. What was going on in this? And we just talked about active listening, the importance of active listening. What was going on in your head? Were you just like, I'm just going to listen.
I wanted to remember more of what you were saying.
You wanted to remember more. You're like, oh, I want to think more. I'm going to hold it in. Thank you. Anyone else was like, I want to remember more of what they're saying.
Yeah, I was just making mental notes.
Making mental notes. Those two right there. Anyone else is doing that? Okay.
I tend to overanalyze what they're talking about. I tend to think about more not what they're saying, but what they're really saying.
Oh, so now you started overanalyzing. You're like, what are you not saying?
I'm over it.
It's a more advanced technique, but I appreciate you doing that. You're like, okay, but I'm in it, right? I'm listening. What else? What else came up? What else? This table here. You guys have been. I know you were out late. All your names were on the list. I'm just kidding. What about this table? What was coming up for you over here? Andrew.
I found that I was starting to think about responding with a similar topic while Chris was speaking, which is the opposite of what I wanted to do.
But almost this need, like you wanted to find connection, right? You're like, maybe there's a connection piece there. All right, who else was doing that? Who else was doing something similar to Andrew? Okay, others, tell me about that a little bit.
I guess you just want to make good flow.
Ah, good. Right, so creating that connection, finding it, okay. What else? Tell me, what else was coming up for you after doing this?
I wanted to ask questions,
Oh.
even though you told us not to interrupt.
Now you want, but see, that's good, right? It's creating curiosity. You're thinking about what they're saying, and now you want to ask questions, which helps us remember what people are saying. Please.
Doesn't affect the active listening portion of it.
It does when you're processing like that. But you're trying to create connection, but now I want to ask questions. Maybe you're overthinking about what she's saying to connect, but yes, you're absolutely right. Go ahead.
Something in our industry that's not always taken consideration that you've reminded me about is we're very global, and we're going to talk to people who it's rude to have eye contact with.
Potentially,
Or
yeah.
it's not necessarily their custom, and it could be seen as even aggressive at times or just non-respectful.
Yeah.
So a lot of times there's no eye contact in other countries. It's a sign of respect.
Yeah.
So you have to take that consideration.
I'm glad you brought that up. That was if we go back here, on our last list, I'm glad you brought that up. We talk about other cultural differences, overlooking cultural differences at the bottom of this. That's part of it, right? Making sure if there are cultural differences, we're not, to your point, I realize that eye contact is a lack of, there's something, I'm not supposed to do that, so I take it into consideration versus I'm just going to be me and not think about what's happening. So I'm glad you brought that up because that is 100% important. What else? What else came up? Yeah.
I found that there's sort of a feedback loop, and I think both participants in the conversation, if you're sharing something, that you're hypersensitive about what the other person, how they're responding, and that can actually lower your confidence or increase your confidence.
Oh.
And if there are follow-up questions, it can help you articulate a little bit more with more passion. So all to say that positive energy is contagious as is negative energy.
Yes, I agree. Did everyone hear what Neil had to say? If you're not as confident in what you want to say, sometimes the other person listening, creating energy, asking questions to help build the confidence of the speaker up so that they are creating more energy, right? If I'm not feeling so confident in what I'm saying, am I getting this right? But my listener is engaged, they're nodding, they're asking questions. It builds confidence in me as the speaker.
So if someone's nodding too much, they're really trying to sort of keep things going. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe they're talking to someone that they don't like. They're engaged in an awkward interaction. And so you might see some adjustment that's maybe seen to be inappropriate, but people aren't really that honest. When you're a kid, I think the best recognizer of people's intentions are young kids. And we unlearn a lot of things as we get older. We put up all these different barriers, and here we are today trying to tear them down to be ourselves.
We get socialized. We get socialized into the way things are supposed to be. And yesterday we talked about getting into our authenticity. But it's being mindful, right? This is all about creating awareness around self and how we are showing up. Not to do anything that isn't innate or feels comfortable to me, but yes, we do get socialized into how we're supposed to sit and act and look and do. Yeah, a lot of barriers. Yeah. Thank you.
I noticed my husband
Just checking you out.
I don't think that's what it is. But he'll be carrying on the conversation. I'll be like, look at the person.
Yeah.
Because they can't hear you.
So maintaining eye contact with the person that's speaking.
It's hard for me because I want to yell at him.
And the goal of these exercises, especially the next exercise we're going to get into, is not to call it out in other people. Right? Unless we're that close to unless we got the really good friends that are going to be calling you out. It's not to call it out and be like, you're doing this thing. It's really about self-awareness. It's about our own self first. Let's fix and work on the things we need to work on first. I'm not calling our husband, this is true, we do this. And then we're like you, and just to think of, okay, this is what I do. And you've brought it to his attention, which is good, right? From a loving, kind place. And now it's in his awareness. And then wonderful. Were you going to say something, Connie? Okay. All right. Wrapping up this, don't interrupt. Interrupt, so rude, right? When you're talking and then someone just jumps right in, it's so hard. Listening without judgment, just listen to listen. I'm thinking about asking questions to demonstrate understanding, follow-up questions there. We're going to move into one of my favorite parts. You're going to want to take notes. This is going to help you so much. Communicating in conflict. Communicating in conflict. What are your triggers? What are your triggers? Am I the only one that has triggers? No. What are our triggers? Mine? When people cut in line. Ooh. I'm like, ugh. What else? What are people's triggers? What are other else's triggers? Anyone want to share? What? Talking down to someone. Being disrespectful. What are some other triggers for you?
You can tell they're not actually listening.
Yeah, they're sort of just not there in the conversation. They're not doing, they're sort of doing, or behind the computer looking and not paying attention. Yeah. Disagreeing with you. I am right. Maybe argumentative, right? When people get argumentative about certain things. When the information is right there. What other triggers? What other triggers? We all have them. What are some of the other ones?
Interrupting, I'm sorry.
What was that? I'm sorry? I interrupt what? I'm sorry.
I know, interrupting.
What else? All right. Triggers are about 3 things. At the root of all triggers. So it might be, I got interrupted in a meeting, they left their socks on the floor again, the dishes are dirty in the sink, like that thing is they missed the deadline again. At the bottom of all of that, these triggers are about you. They are not about them. They're about us. And at the bottom, it's about 3 needs. One of these 3 is not being met. The first one is power and control. I don't have power in this situation. What they're doing makes me possibly feel powerless. I don't have control over what's going on. Maybe I've taken on too much power and control because I don't trust people. I don't know what's going on. And now I'm ticked off because I'm the one who does all the work around here and no one ever does anything, right? Power and control. The second is respect and recognition. This is being seen. This is being heard. This is being understood. And the third one is care and closeness. This is connection. This is about connection. My main trigger, my triggers that happen to me in my personal, professional relationships tend to fall in the bucket of respect and recognition. At the bottom of what happens when I find myself getting upset or something going on, it's typically in that bucket for me. You're all thinking about your triggers, right? Who are my respect and recognition people for the most part? Who are my respect and recognition? Being seen, being heard, being understood. So in relationships, right, when our partners aren't doing, things aren't, maybe like it can really get to us. We have that same, who has those same arguments over and over and over and over and over and over again? It's because we're arguing about the socks on the floor, the dishes in the sink, the report that didn't get done, and we're not talking about the fact that I have a need for respect and recognition. This triggered it, and I need to figure out how to get my need met first by me. Because I have to respect and recognize myself first. I have to find value in what I do first, because it doesn't matter what anyone else does or what my partner does to change or what anyone else around me, it will never be enough. It will never be enough. Who are my power and control people? Oh, wait a minute. Power and control? Yeah, power and control. You power and control too? Who's not going to raise their hand no matter what I say? They're like, I'm not going to raise their hand. Who are my care and closeness people? Anyone care and closeness? Connection? All right. And when we think about things like work, going into a space where we're all virtual for a long time, people miss that connection, right? As much as many of us are like, I love working from home, there's probably people on our teams that are like, I really enjoyed being in the office with everybody and whatever lunch was being brought in on Friday, right? Those things. So that's where triggers originate from. So when you find yourself getting that feeling, ask yourself, what's triggering for me right now? Which one of these 3 needs is not being met because this need needs to be met first? Does this make sense? We have questions about this? We're going to move on. And then, okay, before I move on, this happens, it's not just us, right? Other people get triggered by us. And people say things that they don't need to say. And we're not going to talk about that. But people do things. We trigger other people. I know we like to think we don't, but we trigger other people too. We're the cause of their triggers. So when we think about people that we work with, like, we have behaviors as well that are triggering for other people. But this is about remembering us. This is all self-awareness. We're doing the us work right now. There are 3 negative communication patterns. There is criticism. When you get upset and you're in a bad place, there's criticism. Criticism sounds like, you're always late. I learned to tell time when I was 5. Criticizing you as a person. Criticism. The next one is contempt. You're lucky I even deal with you. And we laugh, right? Because it's true. Contempt. Defensiveness. You're always so mean to me. And I only did this because you did that thing, right? This is because of you, right? When we get defensive in conversations. And the final one is stonewalling. This is when we are demonstrating separation. I'm walking away right now. You know what? We'll just deal with this later. Silent treatment. You want to demonstrate that you are not connected to them, and that is stonewalling, which is different from saying, I need 10 minutes to compose myself, to figure out what I'm going to say, and get back to the conversation. That's not stonewalling. Who here has experienced one, if not all, of the 4?
Talk about trigger.
I know for me, my habit, my go-to is defensive-ness, which is rooted in my need for respect and recognition. Well, you just don't see all the things that I do around here, and if you notice the 5 million things that I've been doing, right, that's my go-to pattern. And I only bring it up just to bring real life to it, and the fact that I continue, when I get triggered, I have to think about, all right, well, what's coming out of my mouth right now? How am I acting? Which is great in navigating conflict, because not only are we recognizing what's going on with self, but when we see other people doing it, it's not to call it out and be like, you're being defensive. It's to say, oh, okay, I can take my ego out of it. She's been triggered. There's something going on, and this is her reaction right now. It gets us to become curious about what's going on right now with you. How do you think that would help you in conflict situations?
Just puts a cool rag on the situation.
Right. Yeah.
So my company has what we call threat animals. We do this when we're onboarding. And some pick a turtle because they tend to know themselves in threat mode. Some people like to eat the computer because I tend to attack when I'm in threat mode. But we all recognize and understand each other's interests and relate to them and what position we can put them in. Vice versa.
You could. You can, and we do. We trigger.
Say, I'm a threat, and it stops everything, and communication begins.
Yeah, wonderful. Kind of puts that pot. What else? How else does this help you? How else would this help you? How would this help you in your personal relationships?
Well, it helps you really understand what's going on.
Yeah.
The surface can be understanding. This is what's really going on.
What's really going on down below? That there's something deeper. That I might be getting I might be getting, they might be yelling at me or upset about something that I didn't do. And granted, I might have not done it, but instead of getting defensive or like, well, you always do this thing, it's like, all right, I can take accountability, I can shift. I'm going to go to this. So these are called the 4 horsemen. This comes from John Gottman, and these are some of the anecdotes to how we navigate. This is not in your book. I've given them credit for this, but this is not in your book. And they talk about what you can do as an antidote to those negative communication patterns. So in defensiveness, for example, victimizing myself so now you become the problem, not me becoming the problem. Instead, accepting their perspective, taking responsibility and accountability, making those simple shifts. And as I said before, please do not call this out in other people. This is not about being like, oh, I learned about this just this morning. And guess what? It's not about doing that. It's about recognizing it in ourselves. We have to work on ourselves first. This is a huge part of emotional intelligence, how we raise our levels of emotional intelligence. Self-regulation, which we have talked about, big component of emotional intelligence. So tell me what's going on for you as you're thinking about these things. Does it bring a light bulb to things? Is it an aha? Making you rethink relationships? What's coming up for you? Let's talk. Nothing? This is the quietest you guys have been.
I find it harder to do it public, personally.
Yeah.
These kind of exceptions. But when I'm disciplining an individual in my office or I'm talking to somebody, I have a little bit more context and a little more understanding, a little more strength in dealing this way. But when I'm on a personal issue, with the person that I either, it's a lot harder for me.
Yeah. I love that thank you for bringing that up. Who else thinks it's harder in their personal relationships than work relationships? Who else? Got hands? Yeah. Right, we know the person, we're connected with the person. They need to know better, right? They should have known better. We have the different dynamics versus the people we work with. But all the things. That's right, and how we have to work through this. Do we have any questions about this? All right. So when we communicate through conflicts, let's think about open dialogue. Let's think about defining action steps, evaluating options, things that calming the situation, taking our ego out of it so that we can navigate through, get curious, ask questions, become productive, acknowledging what needs to be acknowledged, taking accountability for what we need to take accountability for, and lead by example when we do this. Communication is a superpower. Thank you very much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. These are big concepts that we spend a lot of time on in different spaces, and I love that we got just a little blip of every single one of them today for you this morning. Any questions for me? All right. It has been a pleasure to be with you all these past 2 days, to get to know each and every one of you. I thank you for your openness, your willingness to talk, to speak up. Please connect with me on LinkedIn if you want. Your QR code's up there. You can connect with me. I would love to stay connected with you. And with that, it is your first break of the morning. You're out. You will be back here at 10:15, and I will see you all very, very soon.
I changed the schedule, so FYI, sorry, Justin, I give you 10 minutes. So.
All right. Thank you very much. You have a good day. Thank you. Yeah.
A real life example of a conflict and a solution that I came up with, and as a group we did at work. Would I give that to you or to Brittany? Because I know we did those little tasks. I don't know if that was a Brittany thing or
it might have been a Brittany thing.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't remember. Let me come down so I can talk to you. Excuse me. So she asked, was it just an ask for, it wasn't part of pre-work.
Well, it was part of the boards.
Oh.
And they had written up their conflict to deal with.